Hello. I'm hoping that everyone can hear me. Can everyone hear me fine? Hopefully. But anyway, first time doing a stream like this, so you'll have to bear with me a little bit probably. But I want to thank Clinical for tuning in, and I will add him to the stage now. Oh wait, that's the wrong stage. Hey Clinical, welcome to the chat. Oh wait, there, I can't hear. It's probably a me problem. Give me a moment.
Nope, sorry, I had my mic on mute.
Oh,
Apologize
okay.
for that. How you
Never
doing
mind.
today, bro?
I'm doing good. Thank you for coming on.
Yep, no problem, no problem.
All right. So yeah, the stream is literally what it says on the title today. It is a October review, because it's been a not crazy month, but definitely a month to talk about. And I will show the games now that we had. So as it says at the bottom, 4 wins, 1 loss. We'll start at the beginning of the month with the RB Leipzig game. It was best. It was definitely, we needed it because, well, we just had that terrible game against Wolves, didn't we? So we really needed this win to put a bit of confidence on the team before playing Arsenal. So, what were your thoughts on this performance on an overall Clinical?
Well, aside from the derby at the end of the month, I'm sure all of us were looking at that Arsenal game as the big game to look forward to. Me personally, I thought the Arsenal game would have been the harder game, in which it did prove to be.
Yeah,
So, off the back of a very disappointing performance from not only several players but collectively as a team, I was thinking this is a perfect opportunity for us to bounce back. You know, it's in the Champions League. I always talk about how switching over to another competition might help poor form in the Premier League. So, and Rodri would not be suspended for that. So that's an opportunity for us to take advantage of that, go on and get back in that winning momentum ahead of the Arsenal game and basically put them to the sword. But for the Leipzig game in particular, you know, Rico Lewis absolutely ran the show. I was very happy with his performance that he put down. Foden, he also scored a goal. I think it was Rico that assisted that. Took it down on the volley. Great goal. And for me, that made up for a poor miss that he had shortly before that. Um, I think Leipzig scored as soon as the second half started. I think that was a good goal as well from Openda, right at the inside of the post. Not really much Edison could do about that. People argue
yeah,
Akanji could do better, but it's there's not really much you can really say about that. But I thought the game absolutely changed when Doku and Alvarez came on, and both of them assisted each other. So yeah, it was a good way to end off the game, and those electric players that basically our majority of the fan base love would have put the whole club in good vibes going into that Arsenal game. So yeah, I was very happy with the Leipzig game.
yeah. The Leipzig game, it was definitely a turning point we needed because, as we mentioned, that really poor performance against Wolves and then going into the Arsenal game, which I agree. I looked at and I thought that was the more difficult game, to be fair. Um, so yeah, I basically agree with all your points. Rico Lewis really shone. That game, was just on form and everything. We've got NCFR in the chat. Of course, he's seen the Carabao Cup results tonight.
Yo, amazing days for football. I
Oh
can't
my
lie.
lord. 10 bin back in. Oh man. Glazers staying 10 more years, Manchester City on the biz. I've heard the tune.
I love that song.
Honestly, yeah. Oh my lord, I forgot about the Carabao Cup tonight, and so I searched it up, and when I saw that United lost 3-0, oh my lord, it's just the biggest grin.
Yo, I'm not gonna lie. I was at work while the game was happening, but I had a bit of free time, so I pulled it up on my phone. I was watching the Arsenal game because that started before the United game, and as soon as I turned it on, I saw Ben White hitting the ball into the back of the net. I was so surprised because I was thinking, wow, imagine my luck. Arsenal score as soon as I turn it on, and then I noticed it was an own goal. Like, he actually took it so well. I was wondering, why is he not celebrating? What's going
Oh
on?
my lord. Ten Hag, our savers.
The United
please.
one was just cherry on the top.
Oh, well, honestly, a brilliant night for City fans all around. 3-1 West Ham against Arsenal and 3-0 against Newcastle. Well, 3-0 for Newcastle against United. Clinical whites. I wonder what people are saying now of like Maguire's comeback, honestly.
Oh my
Maguire
lord.
played Copenhagen and Sheffield. Like, come on. But honestly, what a night in the Carabao Cup and at Old Trafford as well. But back onto the City fixtures. I mean, yeah, it was a good performance. It's a shame that we lost that. We fell asleep at the beginning of the half, and Openda took his chance really well. But overall performance was really good, and we got to see a really good side of Rico Lewis. Now onto the game that I'm sure not many really want to speak about this game any more than we already have. But Arsenal won at the Emirates, the only defeat we had this month. Wait, I'll quickly catch up on MCFR's comments. Oh, Saeed TV's reaction. Oh, I'm absolutely watching it after this as well.
100%.
Having United lost 6 times at Old Trafford this season, it's so strange for United because like it wasn't. I thought their record at Old Trafford was pretty good last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's where they got most of their points from.
Yeah, and this year, absolutely crumbled. Results at Old Trafford recently, lost 3-0 against Newcastle, 3-0 against City, 3-2 to Galatasaray, 1-0 to Palace. 3-1 to Brighton, and yeah, those are all the losses, and we're not even 20 games in, I don't think so. United really need to pick it up.
Yep, Ten Hag is just so polarizing. Like you said, last season he basically turned OT into a fortress, and now this year it's a joke. Like I don't know. It's like his tactics have gone completely the other way too. I don't know, man. Maybe his twin is actually running the club now, and he's actually off somewhere, because it's just so different between last year and this year. I have no idea what's going on.
So
but I love it.
Oh yeah, I'm
long may it continue.
For me, I personally think it has to do with the goalkeeping situation. I think because Onana's good, okay, but the thing was with having De Gea, it forced United to be more direct because they couldn't pass it back to De Gea because his distribution's so poor, which means they had to push forward. They basically had no other options. But with Onana, they can pass it back, but that also means they get put under so much pressure at the back line. And when you got Harry Maguire and Johnny Evans at the back line, and getting that much pressure on them, it's going to get to them.
Weirdly enough, I actually thought they played better today than they did against us. But the moment they started conceding goals, all the heads just went all the way down, and I don't know, man. So it's a complete mess. I'm so sure Casemiro regrets going there. Like, he could really do without all this to end off his career. And I'm almost certain Varane and Ten Hag completely fell out. So I guess that's another Sancho situation going on there.
Yeah, man. And what is the situation with Varane? Because I thought he got injured, but I know he's on bench against City. What's the?
No, he wasn't even on the bench against us. He didn't make the squad.
Wow, really?
Wait. Maybe I'm wrong about that part, but he was not even on the bench today. He was dropped from the squad completely today.
Yeah, he was on bench. He was on bench on Sunday, but today.
The derby.
When was this?
Yeah, he was on bench against us. But even so, he said he didn't play for tactical reasons. Why didn't he sub him on when he realized that they were a shambles in the defense?
Honestly, Varane is United's best centre back. Like up there with Martinez, anyway. Like, honestly, like But then Johnny, I know Martinez is injured, so he can't really help that.
Right.
But
You want to hear my conspiracy on Varane?
go on.
I think so. With Sancho, do you remember it was like he's not training well, so that's why he's not in the squad and all that stuff. And everyone was giving him a lot of backlash, saying, "Why did you have to put that out into the public? You could have just said something else, like he's ill or he's injured with a knock or something else, like it was just tactical reasons." So now with Varane, I think that's what he was trying to do. I think it's a similar situation where him and Varane had some sort of falling out behind the scenes, and then when they asked him, he just said tactical reasons as what would be the correct answer to protect the situation. But he came back from injury and then now he's just completely disappeared with no trace. Rand's not saying anything. Everyone knows something's up.
Yeah, I'm gonna try find when his last start was, because his last start was against Copenhagen, but I don't know. It's such a strange situation. He didn't get subbed off against Copenhagen either, so I don't think he got injured.
And MCFR is saying apparently he's ill. So why did Ten Hag say tactical reasons and then now he's ill? Like I don't know. They're just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks.
Yeah. United is just a mess from top to bottom, from the selling of the club and now to leaks in the dressing room and everything. So they need to. That club has got to somehow get in order in some shape or form. I'm all here for it if it doesn't go, because if it means United keep playing how they do, then that's fine by me. But if I was a Man United fan, I'd just be like, what is my club at the moment, But anyway, let's get back onto the topic, because I think we spent more time going at United than we have City. So,
yeah,
Arsenal 1-0. We'll try to go over this one relatively quickly. I mean, all round, just a relatively poor performance this one was, wasn't it?
I think Pep really let this one go. And he did say after the game as well, like he set up incorrectly for the game. I think most City fans would agree with that as well. Like, I don't know. I don't know if it's the ego in me, but I like going to not even just Emirates. I like playing against Arsenal and just putting them under immense pressure, because at the end of the day, we do always beat this team ever since 2016 at least. So if it is that, we go a goal up or 2 goals up against them, the heads will drop. They will remember that terrible record and just playing them off the park, player for player. I do think eventually, that will seep through into their younger team, younger manager. Arteta also overthinks just as much as Pep, maybe not just as much as Pep, but he also overthinks like Pep does. So I was thinking that's the more correct approach to go for. I do think we started the game with a bit of spark because Vardial had that shot. Declan Rice was luckily in the position to clear it off the line. It was gonna beat, I think it was Raya in goal. It was definitely Raya was not gonna get to that, so it was a good thing Rice was in that position. Ake really should have done better with that other chance that he got. At least put it on target. That's all I ask. But it's a centre back. He's not really supposed to be in those positions taking shots.
It's not his job, is it?
Right. Yeah, but that was, looking back now, that was our best chance in the whole game. So he really should have done better with that, to be honest. I think you were saying?
Sorry, and if we did score there, like, it really just could have changed the game.
Oh, completely, because they would have started committing more numbers forward, and then who knows? Maybe Peps would see that and then ask the team to be a bit wider and hit them on the break. Because defensively we were set up really well. So if they were really pressing the issue and pushing upfield to break us down, we could just hit them on the way back. Similar to what we did at Emirates last season. I think they were trying to really press us in the midfield. Erdegaard was really just running around, and we were just bopping the ball around them the whole time, playing out of their press really well. I liked that. That guy there that got subbed off, Kovacic, absolute madman. He really should have gotten sent off. He could have gotten sent off with the first tackle. Saw life. and then got a second chance, and again could have gotten sent off there, but absolutely luckily didn't get a single card at all, which it's basically the same challenge. So I have no idea how he made out of that.
Miracle.
Rico Lewis had a good chance where he put the ball into the back of the net, but that got called back for a foul in the build-up, which should have been advantage in my opinion. But again, swings and roundabouts, it is what it is. I think Pep tried to change the game later on. He made a triple sub. I think that's when Nunez, Doku, and Stones came on. And for me, 2 attacking subs and a defender, it seems to me like he's trying to go for it, freshen it up. Doku is exactly who I wanted to see, but I wanted him to start against Zinchenko and give him hell all game. Basically, as soon as he came on, Zinchenko came off, so that kind of sucked. I think Foden and Alvarez both were terrible. They had terrible games, basically marked out of the game. They couldn't really get into positions to affect the game how I would have liked to seen. But, that does happen sometimes. The type of game that I would want to see Foden just, KDP is not here. Gundogan's not here. I got to pull my socks up, tighten my shoelaces. Even if it means to get the ball off Ederson or Diaz and then just take it upfield myself, if that's what it takes, then I would have loved to see him at least try that. Unfortunately, he didn't. And last but not least, Ake. Overall, I think he had a good game because, again, he was a part of our defense. We were just playing really well. But he was unfortunate for that goal. And it's kind of a sticky one because if he wasn't there or if he ducked or something like that and hoped Ederson saved it and then it scored, it would have been like, we're not paying you to duck from the ball, like block the ball, like be there, close him down, something of the sort. But he was there. He tried to make the block or, hopefully deflect it back upfield or out of play. And then unfortunately just came off his head and went into the back of the net. So there's not really much he could do about that. And I think that kind of tainted the good game that he did have up to that point. But that's where we lost the points. So, yeah.
Yeah, it was a shame really for Ake mainly because I thought, I agree. I think the whole back line had a solid game.
And to be fair, Arsenal's back line did as well. Big up emojis in the chat.
I think both back lines are incredibly solid, especially Saliba. I think Saliba's he's just going to be top quality. Saliba, he'll grow to be just one of the best in the world. How old is he? Like 22. It's unbelievable.
Maybe 21. Like I think he was 20 at the start of the season. Again, I'll fact check that. Don't quote me on that, but I do know he's very young.
It's ridiculous how good he is. And then on the opposite side of the pitch, I thought Josko Vardio probably had the most solid defensive game, in my opinion, for City. He absolutely 22.
Yeah, 22.
Nice.
This year.
Yeah, he absolutely locked down Jesus Vardio. But yeah, both back lines, I think it was just about trying to break down the back lines, and City really didn't show much breaking down in that game. And beyond the 70th minute mark, we looked like we were ready to take a point. So it was a shame, this game. We were definitely like not set up correctly, like you mentioned. I don't think anyone really expected this midfield three of Rico, Kovacic, and Bernardo. And honestly, Kovacic, you'd think he wanted the red card.
Oh my bro! It's just the fact that he did that 2 or 3 minutes after on a VAR check for a red card. Like, what were you thinking, bro?
I think that might actually be the only reason he stayed on. I think it might have just been because of how quickly after it happened. I don't think it should be like that personally. I'd be fuming if I was an Arsenal.
Right. If it happened to us, I'd be raging, bro. That's why I can just look at it objectively and say, no, I can't defend him. I don't know what he was doing.
Yeah, it's definitely it is a red. The first one got checked and luckily didn't get given. And then,
that one, I would argue, because again, some refs would look at that and say yellow. Some would look at it and say red. If he got a straight red, I couldn't argue and defend it. But him getting a yellow, I can also see that perspective as well. Like
Yeah.
you could look at it and say there is no intent. It's just a late challenge. This is your last warning, though. That's what I was expecting, but apparently it wasn't because he got another one right after that. But
Honestly,
I don't know, man.
crazy. But yeah, Arsenal they were just better. At the end of the day, don't get me wrong, both defensive solid, but it was one. I think it was mainly one in the midfield partly, and Arsenal's midfield was set up better than ours. Declan Rice, Jorginho, and Odegaard, and Kovacic, Bernardo, Rico. Arsenal's midfield was set up better that game. Sadly,
I'm not sure if I agree with that personally. I thought we were winning the midfield battle throughout the majority of the game, but the real game changer for me was Martinelli because Trossard wasn't really doing much. He was having a below standard game, and I think it was, let me see, Kyle Walker. Yeah, Kyle Walker absolutely marshaled him. He didn't really have much to say in the game, but Martinelli being that wild card that he is, and he's a player that I rate very highly. So, he came on and he just ran at Kyle Walker, in which he was doing well initially, but he's one of those players who has that X factor about him. And I don't think maybe Trossard in that situation would have done the same thing and just gone for the shot. But there's not a lot of players who would have taken that decision and said, you know what? I'm just going to go for the goal and maybe we get a corner out of this or something. The game's getting late. We have to start kind of throwing stuff at them and hoping something comes off for us. But yeah, I think Martinelli was really that deciding factor that got Arsenal that moment of quality. And it's hard to even call it that, to be honest with you. But yeah, he was a difference.
Martinelli off the bench. I think you are right there. He is. I agree. I think Martinelli is like a really good player, and I think he's got a high ceiling too. We'll probably say that about a lot of Arsenal players because the whole younger squad in the Prem thing. Is that still true? Is that Chelsea now? Because I know they're riddled with young players.
I don't know. They have Thiago Silva, so he's basically balancing the scale on the other side. I don't
know. But yeah, Martinelli, great player. But yeah, probably just a poor performance, Arsenal, and I'm glad that things picked up from that. I'm glad that was the final game before the international break because
I think it came at a great time for us to just take a break and sit back.
Yeah, like take a break, recoup, like get your mind back where it needs to be, and then come back and perform. And although I couldn't watch this game because it's 3:00 kickoff, we got the win, which is the main thing. Goals for Haaland and Alvarez, red card for Akanji at the end. I saw the foul, kind of silly, but but we got the job done this game, which was the main thing.
Yep.
Were you able to watch this game?
Yep. It was actually a great first half. It's a clear difference with Rodri in the team versus when he's not. Jokingly, when I was doing my preview for the Arsenal game and I had one of my friends come on, I titled it Rodri FC versus Saka FC because that's basically what the media was saying on either side, and we really see based on who won, who's really who really needs what player more. After we lost, I was like, dang, I guess that means we are Rodri FC then. And then this game, after the first half that we had, it basically proved my point again. Like it's chalk and cheese how well we play with Rodri in the game, and it's not just defensively. The control that he gives us in that midfield area and the quality that he gives us going forward as well. He was just absolutely amazing. Love that tap in from Haaland for the second goal because apparently that's all he does. Pressuring, I don't remember which defender that was, but he won the ball back and he just absolutely blasted it. Brilliant shot. A lot of people were expecting him, including me, to go far post. but he actually just striked it down the line and into the near post. So the keeper had absolutely no chance at that. Doku assisting Alvarez, absolutely love to see it. Cheeky cutback as he usually does. Um, a bit different from our other wingers, and we can always appreciate that. Roll the dice a little bit with him, and from what I remember from that assist, it was absolutely dirty. Like I think it was Milner he was coming up against, and he absolutely roasted him, bro. And like, cause he was watching him going down the line, and he just give it an extra hit and just turned on the pace and clipped it in before it went out, and then Alvarez was just there to clean it up. So brilliant goal to open the scoring there. And unfortunately, in that second half, I think we kind of eased up off the gas a bit, and Brighton could get back into the game in the second half. Ansu Fati came off the bench and scored that goal for them basically halfway through the second half, and then Matoma was so determined to get that winner. That equalizer. He had two chances. One of them was a header at the back post, very nearly missed, and then the second one he was coming up against Kyle Walker, and like he's just, for me, he's one of the best dribblers in the Premier League. Like how quickly he changes pace, kind of similar to Doku. How quickly he changes pace and just stops and goes again is just absolutely insane. And Kyle Walker was not handling that last couple of minutes with Matoma very well, and he almost cut in and gave them a point that we had to sit down and share. And like you said, Akanji for that second yellow, it's just a bit inconsistent because you've seen situations like that happen and they just get spoken to, and it's the end of the game. Like, he was virtually the last kick. He could have just left it alone and let him go, but he decided he wanted to give him a second yellow card for it, and he then missed the Manchester Derby. But you look at the Manchester Derby, you have inconsistencies there with the penalty. Was the penalty? It's just all over the shop with the referees nowadays. So how I look at it, like I said before, swings and roundabouts. You get them some days, you don't. You just have to take it and continue moving.
Man, James Milner on Jeremy Doku. Jeremy Doku must have read that team sheet and just thought, this is my day. Honestly. And oh my gosh, was it? I remember just seeing an image and Jeremy Doku had just sent James Milner back to Liverpool.
Oh, yeah. Ice Spice. Yeah. Yeah, I saw that.
Oh man, Jeremy Doku on James Milner. That's one of the craziest things I ever see. And also on Matoma, you mentioned how he's really good. Do you think he's due a move maybe in the summer to like a top European club?
I don't know, and that's for two reasons. I don't know if Brighton are gonna fight to keep him, because yes, they have been a selling club over the past couple of years, but they've also been climbing steadily up the table in the last couple of years. So it could be a time where they decide, you know what, we're trying to keep at least some of our key players this season. It's not just anyone who has some interest is on the market. So there's that, and then on the other hand, I don't know how much Brighton would be charging for this guy right now, because he is definitely 90% of the games their best player. And we saw what they charged for Caicedo, 115, and he's a midfielder. So imagine what they would do for a winger. Like you're looking at like 130 plus right there. So I really don't know. And maybe Spurs would be the only team that need a winger right now. He doesn't play on the right, so I'm not sure if Liverpool would be looking at him. I'm sure Arsenal doesn't need any more wingers, especially at that price range. Same with City. And United, I don't even know what they're doing. So would he even go to United is a whole other question. I'm really not sure, man. And obviously, he always has the option to move outside of the Premier League. But yeah, I really can't say what I think is going to happen with Matoma. I think if I was supposed to make a guess for this summer, I think he stays at Brighton, though.
Yeah, I can definitely see it, because I mean, imagine Brighton. I don't know if this will happen, but imagine if Brighton win the Europa League this season. They're suddenly in the Champions League, and then they suddenly consider themselves a top club. So, I definitely think it's definitely open for debate. Because Brighton, you're right. They're climbing up the table. It's not like they're 15th and it's carrying them on the back. they finished sixth last season, was it?
Yep.
Yeah. So and they're looking good this season too. So it's a strange one for Matoma. I think it's going to come down to Matoma, whether he pushes for the move or not. Because obviously, I think Brighton will want to keep him, but
And I'm pretty sure he has like 4 more years on his contract or something like that, or at least 3 more years after the season.
yeah, he hasn't been there forever, has he? Signed. Was it last season or the season before?
I think he was there last season, but the season before that he was out on loan. So he came back last season to play for them, and obviously had the year he had, and now he's here again for a second season in the Prem.
Yeah, it's interesting on Matoma. But anyway, we'll jump on to the next one now, which was City versus Young Boys, a game that we definitely went into expecting to win, and it's exactly what we got. But definitely a few things to talk about, like how mad their goalkeeper was.
Oh my gosh, I completely forgot about that. Because for me, I was looking at it and I was saying I love the performance that we did have against them. For me, I thought it was a better overall performance than against Brighton. In the second half of that Brighton game, it was a really big contest. We didn't score any goals in the second half. You could look at it and say Brighton won the second half, and you could argue that they had the better chances in the second half as well, because those two Matoma chances I mentioned as well. And obviously our first half we were very dominant. So that was a game of two halves. This one we completely ran the game from start to finish, even when it was 1-1. Because their goal came against the run of play. I thought Rodri again had a really good game in the midfield. Did he score? No. Akanji scored and Haaland scored too. Grealish and Doku starting for the first time together this season. Absolutely love to see that, because when the whole Grealish or Doku debate happened, I was saying, guys, remember Doku plays right wing too. He doesn't solely play on the left, like he's not like Matoma. Matoma doesn't play right wing. He's a left winger. Doku is an out and out winger. Like, it doesn't matter which side you put him. For me, he's just as effective on either side. And for me, he's better on the right, because that's where he's played most of the games in his career. If you actually follow him at Rennes and for Belgium as well. So I was always thinking, there's going to be a game where both of them start and both of them do well, because they're good at different things. So attacking down the left, we get these type of qualities. Attacking down the right, we get these type of qualities. And it worked out exactly how I was imagining it in my head. I thought Doku was really good. But on the other hand, Grealish was having a man of the match performance. So I was looking at it like, we really are spoiled for choice in the winger areas right now, and I'm loving it. I'm really not sure how Rico Lewis won man of the match. Not mad at it, because I like the player, but he was not our best player on the day, bro. I'm just keeping it honest. I thought Nunes really struggled in the game. He did some good things, and then other moments he was just losing the ball and making very poor decisions, or no decisions at all, and just getting caught out. I think he really struggled. I thought Kovacic was looking all right / good next to Rodri. I think he's been getting a lot of hate since the Arsenal game. Like, people are just overdoing it, in my opinion. Like, it's like they don't want to see him play anymore. He can't play in any important games. For me, if a player has a bad game, you go into the next game with a completely clean slate. For me, I'm not saying, remember he was terrible last time out. I'm expecting you to correct it if you do play again. And what that told me, because I like the performance he had against YB, what that told me is that he looks miles better next to Rodri versus when he's not next to Rodri. So I wasn't mad at Kovacic's performance. I thought it was a solid overall defensive performance from the team. Obviously, Elia got his 1v1 chance with Rico Lewis. With that offside trap Rico Lewis was trying to set, he got through, and I thought he took his goal absolutely brilliantly. He was a very key player to watch going into the game from my perspective, because I thought he was really good against Leipzig in their game as well. And absolutely always a good day when Haaland gets a brace. And I was thinking that's exactly what he needed for his confidence ahead of the derby, because, he was in a crisis beforehand. What a terrible season he was having. It's a perfect time to get 2 goals up on his overall tally and go away to our biggest rivals. So yeah, we signed off the game on a very good note.
Yeah, young boys game. It was definitely a step up that we needed. At times, I'm sure no one was happy about young boys scoring moments after, essentially, but we managed to climb back. I didn't doubt that we would. I think you're right, Enrique Lewis. I'm not sure how he got man of the match, but doesn't mean he played bad. I just think Lewis played better. Like you say, Grealish, he was great. Rodri just putting in a usual amazing Rodri performance, and I think overall the team played relatively well. Nunes,
and like you said before you continue, that YB goalkeeper, I don't know who he is, but he was having an absolute masterclass. Like conceding 3 goals made it look so bad. It's kind of like Onana, but he was better than Onana in that game, bro. Like he faced, I think he might have had like 6-7 saves in the game despite conceding 3 goals. He was absolutely amazing.
He was unbelievable. Rakiope. Remember the name. Honestly, he was unbelievable. Even on the first goal he conceded, he made an unbelievable save to deny Ruben Diaz's header. It went onto the crossbar, but Akanji got on the equaliser.
Do you see that? We had 14 shots on target and scored 3 goals. That's 11 saves. Monster performance.
Crazy, honestly. He's ridiculous. Some of the saves he made. I remember Jack Grealish. He played an amazing ball to Doku. Doku cut past the defender.
Oh yes, and he kind of slipped, which I'm not gonna kill him for that, but I swore that went into the back of the net, bro. Only to see it fly over the bar. I'm like, what the hell just happened? He was sick.
I know, honestly. And even when we got the ball beyond the keeper, Nunes managed to get it beyond the keeper. The defender clears it off the line. Like, honestly, I thought I had a gutting feeling that it was just going to be a 0-0. It was just going to be one of those games. Honestly,
oh my gosh,
I'm just so thankful.
Yeah, they started the game really well. I'm not gonna lie. I was saying, I think I tweeted just before the game that I do expect them to start very aggressively and make it a very combative game because one, we're playing them away, and this is the 3rd game, so they know they're coming to the Etihad for the next leg, and they're gonna have much less of a chance beating us or getting a draw there than here. And secondly, we're playing on turf, which we don't usually do. That's their home ground, so they're much more used to it than we are. And I believe it was a rainy day as well, so it was not the ideal conditions for us to go on AstroTurf. But yeah, unfortunately for them, fortunately for us, quality shone on the day, and we eventually got past the deadlock 3 times. But yeah, on another day, it definitely could have been a draw.
And also, I just want to say, what a goal that was by that young boys player. And the chip over Edgerton, that chip was actually perfection. It was actually a really nice goal.
Elia, man, quality player.
The one mustache free. Keep making content, never quit. Good things will come. Thank you, man. Thank you for tuning in as well. But yeah, good game against young boys. A step up that we needed. Not our best game ever, but it was more than enough to get the job done. And we could have won that game. We could have set records that night if it wasn't for their keeper. But onto, I think, probably the most recent one, probably at their best performance of the month. Derby Day masterclass at Old Trafford. Not much beats it.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Oh man. Where do you think this game was won for you, Clinical?
Where was it won? I think we really did the business in the second half. If I'm being honest with you. Um, it was a very tricky first half because I think we dominated it, but I don't think we were clinical enough to put, ironically, to put the game to bed how we should have. And I was just very happy that we were going into the second half 1-0 up because we've seen tons of other times where we dominate the game and then we're going in all squared into the half and we're fuming. Or we dominate the game to an extent and we're just 1 or 2-0 up and we're fuming. Like Arsenal at home last season, we were 2-0 up, but that really should have been like 5-6-0. Like genuinely, I'm not even trying to troll or anything. Like we created enough clear cut opportunities for that to be an absolute humiliating scoreline at halftime. And this was one of those games where I was calm. I was happy with the 1-0 going into halftime based on how the game ran. Because as much as we did create enough chances to go 2 or 3-0 up, we gave away sitters where they really should have taken them. Foden passed the ball back to Hoyland and he almost scored. McTominay was at the edge of the box and he blasted it straight at Ederson. Vardiel gave the ball away twice in the first 15 minutes. So there were many opportunities that they could have capitalized on, and we could have been 2-1, 3-1 down at halftime versus us being 1-0 up. So I wasn't looking at it from, the margin should be bigger. I was just saying at least we have something to show for it that we dominated the first half and was the better team in the first half. Obviously, I don't know what it is with goalkeepers against us sometimes. Pickford does it occasionally. Allison does it occasionally. Onana now is the next one. De Gea was another one who sometimes he just get up and just decide to stop being on poor form. And he was a man on a mission, and he was usually one of their worst players this season. So I was thinking this is a day where we could really show him up, but he gave a very good account of himself in terms of the entire defensive structure of United. He was definitely the best player back there as a goalkeeper, arguably the best player on the day for them in general. So, in terms of where the game was won, I have to say the midfield again because the man of the match for me was Bernardo Silva. I thought he absolutely ran the entire show. That second goal to Haaland, Julian Alvarez with the cross straight into Grealish's feet, absolutely switched the play from the left-hand side, from the right-hand side over to the left. Grealish caught onto it, brought it infield and laid it off for Bernardo, who just chipped it into the back post. Perfect cross for Haaland. And for me, he had to score that because he got the same exact chance just before the end of the first half and wasted it. And then he got retribution and took it, which is exactly what I was asking from him. Took his penalty really well as well. Did you think that was a penalty? Like, did you think we got really lucky?
It really depends on whether you believe Rodri can get to that ball, which I don't think is a million miles off. I think Rodri might be able to get to that ball. I just don't think he would have been able to do anything with it. I never think he's scoring when he gets onto that ball. I think the most he can do is head it towards goal and maybe head it over. So it really, I think that is definitely a foul, but it comes down to whether you think he wins the ball. So I think because Rodri I think he could have gotten his head on it. I think it is probably a foul, but at the same time, I think if it was at the other end of the pitch, I'd probably be arguing similar the other way. So.
For me, I don't care. United fans, you can come on my channel and leave your tears in the chat. I'm collecting, no problem. I care zero. I thought it was 100% a penalty. If you go to a store and you rob a pack of gum and then someone else goes in after you and robs a flat screen TV and the police come and lock you up, you don't get to say, oh, but I didn't steal a TV. All I saw was a pack of gum. You're a thief. If you get caught, you get caught. It's as simple as that. It's a foul. You're not allowed to do that in the box. And they looked at it and they gave it. That's your fault for making the foul. Next time, don't be pulling people down in the box then. That's how I look at it. And to be honest with you, if it was the other way around, say Rodri pulled down Hoyland, I would be looking at Rodri and saying, bro, just get in front of him, head the ball away, or don't let him make that run ahead of you. Then why are you pulling him down? How did you get yourself into that position that you needed to do that? So it's something that if we didn't get it, I wouldn't be arguing and saying how we got absolutely robbed. How come that wasn't a penalty? But the fact that they looked at it, I think they really had to give it to us, because all the signs are pointing to it as being something against the rules. So you kind of do have to give that penalty. That's kind of how I look at it. But really and truly, bro, like United created absolutely, like the clean sheet was 100% deserved, because they didn't create anything before the penalty and they didn't create anything after the penalty. So the tears are just so funny to see, because they're angry at the wrong thing. They should be looking at their team and saying, what a terrible performance in a Manchester derby at home. Like, no fight. Bruno Fernandes is an absolute disgrace. Like, I find it so funny every time I think back to United fans arguing with me and telling me why they think he's better than KDB. And I feel so silly that I was actually sitting there replying with reasons as to why KDB was better. I should have just sat back and let it age into what it is now, because now he's your club captain and he's doing absolutely nothing for 90 minutes in the Manchester derby. So, I mean, I know when KDB comes back in, he'll instantly become one of our best players again. Maybe not instantly. Maybe he does need a bit of while to build into it. But we know quality is there, and Cream will always rise to the top. So it is what it is. And Haaland had other chances to capitalize on as well. He had that chip that he tried that went over. I mean, that Onana save, which people are saying he really should score that. He wasted a sitter. I think that's harsh. I think that was a good save, because a lot of keepers wouldn't expect him to chip it there. A lot of strikers would not chip it there because they wouldn't be thinking about that. Nketiah would have probably, or not even Nketiah, Jesus, if he was still here, would probably kick it straight at him. I've seen Jesus do that exact same thing, and I'd be screaming at the TV, chip him, just loop it over him. So the fact that Haaland tried that and Onana read it and saved it, I'm not killing Haaland for that, but that was a big chance for him to get another goal. And obviously the one at the end of the second half, it could have been a 5-0 game, really and truly.
Yeah, Gabriel Jesus. And it was the same with Sterling as well. Whenever they ran in one-on-one, either straight at the keeper or they just hang on to it for so long. Like, sometimes, honestly, those two were one-on-one. Like, on most players, you'd think this has got to be a goal. But for them, you're just like, oh, please just score it, I beg. Like,
Bro, I remember that I think it was the FA Cup semi-final against Liverpool, and it was it Madrid? I think it was Madrid. We had Liverpool at Anfield, then Madrid first leg, then Liverpool in the FA Cup, then Madrid second leg. And we had injuries at the time. Gundogan was out with a back injury. I think KDB had a knock or something. And we just had so many players out, some players just coming back from injury. And we were down 3-0, I think. And then we came back with 2 goals. And Jesus got the ball in that same position Haaland was, with so much space. Alisson was sprinting out towards him. And he didn't even lift his arm up for the save. Like, he just blocked it, because Jesus just blasted it straight at him. He panicked and he just lost it. And I was just there like, this is not an Aguero replacement. I rate him. I like him. He can be a winger, but this is not an Aguero replacement. He's just not, because Aguero was chipping that every single day.
Yeah, Gabriel Jesus, if there's one thing he's not, and he's not an out-and-out striker. He could probably play there for the off game, but he's got to go on the wing for me. You know, like what you just said. He just panics in those situations, and well, a lot of the time. Sometimes he'll keep it calm and composed. Like, I remember that goal against United he scored for Arsenal a few weeks ago. You know? If he did that more at City, maybe he'd still be here, you know?
So my problem with Jesus and Sterling, both of them were just so inconsistent, but inconsistent in different ways. Like Jesus will drop an absolute masterclass today. I've seen a game where he scored a hat trick. I don't remember against who, but I think it was a Champions League game. He scored a hat trick at the Etihad, and then the next game we had like Burnley or something at the Etihad again, and he was just awful, bro. Like he was just losing the ball. He couldn't pass a single man. He couldn't pick a pass. I'm like, bro, you're coming off a hat trick. How are you this hot and cold? I don't get it. And then Sterling, it's the opposite. It's like when he's good, he's good. Like he'll be on a good vein of form for 2-3 weeks, a month, and then for the next 2-3 weeks or a month, he's just absolutely poor. Like when he gets into a bad run, he gets stuck and he just has to go through it until eventually he comes out of his rut. And then when he's in a good run, you want him to play every game, keep the momentum going. He's in hot form. But I don't know, man. Very inconsistent players.
Yeah, and I hear. I remember speaking with a couple of people a while ago when we sold them. I got asked, do I think it's a mistake that we sold Jesus and Sterling to rivals, essentially? And whilst I said probably because they've got that winning mentality, because they've been in those situations, because that is something that's like irreplaceable in a team. And especially to have a City player go to Arsenal or Chelsea and do that, and have that mentality in that dressing room, you'd think that is a massive thing. But I always said that I don't think it's a mistake, because if City thought that that City wouldn't have sold them if they thought they weren't going to be better off without them. Yeah, and
if they thought we would regret it later on. Yeah.
And especially to arch rivals as well, And look who we signed as well in replacement. We got Erling Haaland, who went on and scored over 50 goals in his first season.
I look at Alvarez more as the Jesus replacement, because we should have gotten Kane to replace Aguero and we didn't. So that ended up being Haaland. I look at it in that way, and still I would take Alvarez in the team over Jesus. So I'm definitely looking at that positively. I don't think it was a mistake personally. I always thought Sterling would actually come back to haunt us in terms of like score against us, maybe help Chelsea to beat us. I just thought it was just one of those situations written in the stars. But I had a feeling he would go to Chelsea and become one of their best players, but never hit the level he did at City. That's what I expected there, because they don't play with a traditional striker. I thought he would cook with Haaland in the team, and if Chelsea kept Lukaku or gotten Ronaldo, then maybe he would cook over there as well. But they're playing the false nine kind of like system, and I don't think Sterling is his best in that type of system. So, I wasn't really worried about Sterling coming back to haunt us too much. And on the other hand, with Jesus, yes, they are. On the other hand, with Jesus and Zinchenko, because I kind of put them collectively, I thought it would be good for Arsenal. Like they're very good purchases, and where Arsenal were, obviously they finished 5th. Those two come in as level raisers. I think I said it when Zinchenko went. I said he's going to start over Tierney. They're like, no, Tierney is better than him. He's gonna be backup, or he's gonna play midfield, rotating with Xhaka. I said, okay. I think they underrated him, and he came in and started. Now things is going kind of shaky because I don't know. He became a cry merchant and a huddle merchant. But you look at Jesus on the other side. Again, came in and starting every game. Obviously, one of their better players as well. But last season, for me, it turned out how it did, because as good as Martinelli, Jesus, Martinelli, Saka, and Erdegaard were, I didn't expect them to have all three have as good seasons as they did. So ended up with them putting on a title challenge and finishing second. I don't think that's their actual level. I don't think all three of them hit that good of a season the same time again this year. Maybe not next year either. So I think this year will be a truer representation of what their level is. But yeah, I don't think we did the wrong move in selling them.
Yeah. Also, I want to just go back onto the United game real quick, because just want. What do you think to the back line of Delo, Maguire, Evans, and Lindelof as a back line?
I think it's an absolutely brilliant back line. I think that should be their main back line for the rest of the season. I'm not gonna lie. Or actually, I was gonna say like maybe put Lindelof right back and then put Malacia left back. Maybe that could work. Because Dallo is kinda decent, it's kinda decent going forward and defensively. So if
Not
they
too
could switch him out for somebody a bit worse, then perfect. I think that would be absolutely perfect. But in all honesty, this is not if United are supposed to get to the level where the United fans I speak to want them to get to. This is so far away from that. Like Lindelof could be starting over either one of the other center backs, and you play the actual left back who was on the bench, and it would have been a much better back line than it actually was on the day. I have no idea what Ten Hag thought he was cooking with this. At this point, I think he's trying to get himself sacked.
Yeah. I'm so curious on United's situation, but I'm excited to see it unfold because if they keep having results like they have done the past two, then I'm all for it. But I want to get on to probably one that we can do quite quick. Your personal game of the month, best performance. This one.
In terms of the whole game, we did start poorly, but the levels that we hit in this game and by how far we were the better team, I have to go with this one.
Yeah, I do think that I think it was our best performance. We got the clean sheet as well. Was it? I think it was our only clean sheet of the month, wasn't it? Yeah,
and I got my correct prediction, so
Oh yeah, you got the 3-0. I predicted a 3-1, didn't I? And I predicted United to score first. But yeah, you did get the correct prediction, so fair play. I don't think I had any correct predictions this month.
I'm sure this is definitely my first one of the season, and I don't remember when last I got the correct prediction, so I'm buzzing.
Yeah, you got to take them when you can, don't you? Take the ones you can and hang on to them,
This and like predicting the correct team sheet, because for me, that is way more difficult than correct prediction.
Oh, honestly, because it's 11 players and I know some players are given, like Edison in goal, for example.
Maybe because he didn't start against Brighton. That was Ortega. So now I'm like, Pep, I have no idea what you're doing, man.
And do we know why that was? Was Edison sick? Was it jet lag? Or
he said it was completely tactical. That's what he said. Or that's what I saw as one of his quotes. I didn't actually hear him say that, but
okay.
And it worked. So I can't even be mad. Like, go ahead, Pep.
I mean, it's not like he made any errors, to be fair.
What a good game.
And I think in Ortega, we got one. I think we got probably the second best backup in the league. I give first best backup to Aaron Ramsdale at the moment. But I think Stefan Ortega, if he decided to go join Bayern Munich in the summer, I actually wouldn't have blamed him because I think he has potentially that kind of quality.
I don't think that was a good move for him because he would have been back up there as well. So why would? I think Neuer is back now.
Is he back? No,
I heard like recently he's back in training now. Maybe not starting games, but he's about to come back into the team now. So it's kind of like because they signed Jan Sommer, right? And then I think they sold him already, but I don't know what Bayern's goalkeeper situation is right now. But if he's gonna go there to be backup option again, might as well you say at the treble winners.
Yeah,
that's how I look at it anyway.
Man, Bayern Munich actually lost
yesterday. I saw that. It was a last-minute winner, I think.
Yeah, 96 minutes. I've just seen it. And on to the final topic of the stream before we close it off.
And Neuer started the game.
Did he start?
Yeah, I just checked it. He started the game.
Oh yeah, he did. I got it
Told
here.
you he's back. So looking at that, why would Ortega look at that and say, you know what, I want that? Maybe because he's German. If it was that, I could look at it, but I don't know. It's kind of a sideward step. So
Yeah. And plus, like, why would you leave? I know because of the Germany thing.
and he just came here. Like, why would you pack up and leave Germany and then pack up and leave England back to Germany again?
And especially
in
just
1 year
treble.
after a treble. It doesn't make sense, man.
It's great. But on to final topic. Who is your personal player of the month if you got to pick?
I would say Rodri, and that's because we saw starting at the end of last month how important he was in making this team tick. Obviously, I regard him as the best CDM in the world, and I have for the past 2 years. It's not before this season, that is. Last season and the season before that, when people were just starting to get onto the train, I thought he was already there, and I was already saying, like, if you watch him versus watching Casemiro, he does more than Casemiro because he's good defensively and he gives you more on the ball. So, and then when we came up against them, I thought Casemiro was poor, and it's the dark arts that really helped him get through that game, whereas Rodri was absolutely quality. So, I was always backing him. And in the games that he did play, you look at the Brighton game, you look at the United game, you look at the Young Boys game. You know, I actually said Ruben Diaz and Rodri, looking at that United game, no one is talking about them. The first players everyone speaks about, they speak about Foden because he was absolutely brilliant. They speak about Grealish, Bernardo, Stones also had a monster game in my opinion, but Diaz, who was right next to him, didn't really have much to do because he wasn't involved in the play as much. The ball kind of went over to Stones' side more, but whenever it came over Diaz's side, he cleaned it up, no trace. And I thought he was a key part of getting Vardiel back into the game after his early mistakes because he was right next to him, slotting in whenever Stones went up. So steadily as the game went on, you saw Vardiel grow into confidence more. By the time it was in the second half, he was slide tackling in Rashford outside of our penalty box. That's the level where he was at. So I'm looking at, and you know, Ruben Diaz does his leadership thing without the armband. He's there getting players into position, shouting, telling guys where they need to be, and he's perfectly positioned himself. So I was very, very happy with Diaz's performance. And then Rodri, it's the same thing. And you find both of them when you're watching them in the game, whenever they do something, you look at them and like you're like, oh, who, like someone slide tackles and wins the ball back. You're like, who was that? Oh, it was Diaz. It was Rodri. Okay, cool. Because it's just so normal now that they have a sick 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 game. It's regular. If they score now, you add that to it and be like, yeah, they were by far and away the best. But even if they don't and they have a standard great game, it's a standard for them now. So you don't really highlight it as much as you would do for other players. And that's a massive W in my opinion. So I have to go with Rodri.
Yeah, Rodri. I mean, you just gotta look at the games. The one game Rodri doesn't start in, we lose, and then all the other ones he starts in, we win. It's just he brings just such a difference to the team, and I think he probably has maybe not the exact same effect, but probably I reckon he has a similar effect to the confidence of the midfield that like Ruben Diaz has to bring the confidence of the defense. I think Rodri, he's just that level of player. He's setting a new standard of CDMs, you know, and he will. I think he's only going to get better as well. You know, he's like 27, isn't he? So
I think if he stays his whole career at City, he could genuinely go down as an all-timer.
Yeah, I mean, he set the Busquets is the benchmark.
He's 26.
26.
Yeah, he turned 26 in May. Because when we signed him, he was 23. He has so many years ahead of him. Fernandinho left when he was 36. To put that into context.
If Rodri spends his days here, he could
That's Ruben
easily.
Diaz, by the way. Rodri is 27, yeah. But Diaz is 26.
Those two are just amazing, but Rodri, he's irreplaceable, and that suspension showed it. That you can't have a number two for him. There's no one that can do what he does as a backup, because if you can do what he does, then
you're not second choice, yeah.
You are not the backup.
I think we're just gonna have to get a different style of DM to change how we play slightly when Rodri's not playing. I think that's gonna have to be what we do, or we start searching now and we find a combination that works as well with the both of them. Like, for example, we have Kovacic and I'm not gonna say Phillips. Kovacic and Bernardo, for example. Say maybe over time Pep decides how he wants to set up with those two at the base of the midfield, and it gives you the same effect as having Rodri in there. We're gonna have to sort out something like that.
Yeah.
But we're not gonna find one player who is a Rodri 2.0 unless they're like a youngster like Lavia or someone of that ilk.
Yeah. Like genuinely, Rodri is he's unbelievable, and I think you are right. I think with the signing of Calvin Phillips, we tried to go for a player that is similar to Rodri in some way, because Calvin Phillips was praised for his passing at Leeds and everything like that. So we tried to go for a similar player, and we have just seen the difference in quality. That's not to say Calvin Phillips is bad. It's just Rodri is just on a different level of CDMs. Yeah. And it's going to be a big ask to whoever comes in, not just Calvin Phillips, but whoever comes in to fill in that gaping hole that Rodri leaves in this midfield. Yeah. So
I think Rodri is probably one of the only players currently in world football who can live up to the standard that Pep wants of his DM, because you have to remember Pep was a DM himself in his playing days. So and in that very complicated brain of his, I can only imagine what he would like for his DM to do. And Rodri is probably the person that ticks majority of those boxes. And what he doesn't at the moment, Pep is currently trying to help him develop that aspect of his game. So someone else to come in and do that, man. Again, you're not gonna want to be sitting on the bench. And people were saying Cruz. I think that would be good because he's coming to the end of his career. So maybe he'd take less games at City, or like I said, someone who's on the come up who is a lot younger. Maybe I don't even want to call any names, because putting them next to Rodri is gonna be disrespectful.
Oh, sorry for my dog if you can hear.
You're just agreeing with me. Yeah, you're the fact.
Yeah, but Rodri's just unbelievable. And I think it will stay that way. But also on Rodri, it's not just what he does, it's the consistency and the fact that he can play every week, it seems. He plays an unbelievable amount of games for club and country, I think he had over 60 appearances last season for club and country, which is just crazy.
I think he's a model professional, man. If I'm being honest with you, like he's in a similar way to Ronaldo, how he just takes care of his body. He doesn't even have social media. He doesn't want to be distracted with that type of stuff. He just fully 100% focuses on his football and how to be a better player and keep himself in tip-top condition. I'm sure he's one of those players who, in his spare time, he's actually doing extra work, while other guys are messing about with whatever else they do in their lives. So, yeah, and it's definitely showing in his game.
Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on tonight, Clinical. It's always great talking with you.
Anytime, bro.
And I think you've got some great football opinions. So, thank you a ton for coming on, for a pretty long one too, just over an hour. So yeah, thank you for tuning in. Well, thank you for everyone who tuned in, and thank you Clinical for participating.
No problem, bro. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. You got any content coming up that you'd like to just shout out?
I should be doing a preview for the Bournemouth game tomorrow. Not looking to push that to Friday, so it should be happening tomorrow. And I think that's it for the rest of the week. I do also have an FPL show coming up. I haven't decided the date on that yet. And I do still have to make FIFA's thumbnail with Scott Carson on it because I did promise him that. And I'm also one sub away from 160. So if there's anybody who wants to be that guy to get me, or the girl to get me over the line for 160, this is a great opportunity to do it.
Yes, get Clinical up there. But everyone, like I said, thank you for tuning in, and thank you massively, Clinical, tuning in as well. I'll see you
Anytime.
the next one.